Erin Montgomery is a member of a four-generation ET contactee family. She decided to share her story to help others realise that there is support available for people with abduction experiences. Erin recently released her book, Dirty Little Secret, Confessions of an Alien Contactee. And if you're part of a Book of the Month club, this should be your first choice. She joins us now. Hello, Erin.
Hi, Dean. Nice to be here.
It's been quite a journey for you, so I thought we'd just kick it off and you can just tell us a little bit about your alien contact and how it all started for you.
Well, it's an interesting circuitous, I don't even know the word, journey. I started to realize that I had ET experiences when I was in my 20s. However, contact started when I was a small child. The first known memory, the first memory that I had, I was about 4 on a ship, and I was playing on the floor and met a little boy who had walked by. That's about all I remember. But when I was 7 years old, I had an experience that was actually quite traumatizing for me, and that experience there shaped me into the person I am today, which can be skittish, jumpy, all the typical symptoms of PTSD, and they seem to stem from that moment when I was a child. And an interesting thing about that is I remember that in my 20s, like I said, the memories started to come forward. And the things that I was remembering, floating out the door, going onto a ship, and being taken into a room for an examination, was not exactly the same as what was pulled out in a hypnotic regression. So the magic of the human brain to protect itself is just phenomenal. I did have a regression for this experience back in 2015 with Erin Smith. She regressed me back to that time because I wanted to stop the traumatic symptoms. I wanted to be able to sleep at night, and I wasn't at that point. I was getting very little sleep, afraid of the dark, had the lights on all the time. But anyways, the memories that I had pulled out on my own in my 20s was floating down the hallways through the living room past my parents who were watching TV. I swear they were watching Dallas, the TV show Dallas, so this was in early 80s. And they told me, well, we never watched Dallas. I'm like, I swear that's what I saw. And then I went out the door and up into a ship. However, in the regression, I was levitated from my bed and then just went through the ceiling. Right. And it was amazing, the sensation of feeling my molecules spread out so that they could pass through the materials in the ceiling, through the wood, through the fiber, all of that stuff. It was, I could feel it, and it was incredible, that experience.
Was it painful?
No, it was more awe-inspiring. I didn't feel any pain, but I could feel that I was shifting or phasing through this solid material as a non-solid object at that point in time.
But as a child, you weren't aware that you were having these experiences?
No, I was not. Later, as I was telling my father these things that I was remembering, and he would say, there was a time I remember walking by your bedroom door and you were talking to somebody, but nobody was there. And you were telling them that you wanted to go home and that you wanted to die. And he said, I had to sit you down as a 9-year-old child with long braids in your hair and explain to you why living on Earth is worthwhile, why you should not kill yourself. And he said it was probably one of the most surreal moments that he had, trying to explain to me as a small child that living here is a good thing.
Yeah. So when did you actually find out you were part of a 4-generation contactee family?
That didn't happen until much later. I was in my 30s. Was I 30? Was I 40? I don't remember, but my late 30s, and I was talking to my aunt shortly before she passed, and she told me about my grandfather, who had an experience back in the 20s, 30s, in Texas, in a town called La Mesa, Texas, where he met my grandmother. They were just courting at the time, and he was walking home. It was after dark. There's no street lamps or street lights at this time. And a bright light shone down from the heavens onto him, and he was terrified, and he ran home as fast as he could, dove under the covers, and the light just penetrated through the window. He was sporting a really nasty case of tonsillitis and bronchitis at the time, and when he woke up in the morning, he was completely cured. So that tells me, no, that he had hope with that. My father has revealed that he has seen ships off in the distance. He's never talked about close encounters or anything. My aunt has seen things. I've spoken to all of my cousins on that side of the family, and they have had experiences. Their children have had experiences. My children have had experiences. So that's why I'm saying there's at least 4 generations. Does it go back further? Maybe. I don't know. I would like to find out, but I don't know how.
Yeah. Is there a why to all this? Why is it your family that's been targeted?
I wish I knew that. I know that we're not the only family that has been targeted. I know other people who are also in this at least 4 generation moment where, their children, their parents, and their grandparents have all had experience. I personally think that there is a very big push on genetic manipulation. I think that we've been monitored for a very long time, and things have been altered and changed. I believe that we're drawn to be with certain people so that we do breed, just it feels like love and all of this, and then you have children, but it may not have been our original ideas. I think that a lot of that is planted in our minds. But it happens, and then they're like piecemealing. We want this person to breed with this person so we can have this child with these particular genetic markers. But I think it also plays into a higher level of genetic manipulation where they are breeding hybrid children through several of these families outside of just regular human birth cycles. I have 2 physical children. I have 2 beautiful daughters, but I also know I have many, many other children that I see rarely, on occasion, on ship.
Right. Do you know what happens to these children, to the hybrids?
I don't know the ins and outs of their daily life. However, I do know that they need the contact with their parents. They need to feel love. They need to feel the human bond. And I have been on ship many times with my own children, just playing in loving moments and tender moments, getting to know them a little bit. But it's just brief. It's brief and not enough. And it also is a very strange disconnect. Like, you're my child, but I don't know you. Feeling there's love, but this disconnect. Like, I get it, but I don't. And it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain those emotions because they don't really translate into everyday human experience. Like, what do you mean you go on a ship and you're holding a child that's half alien, half human, and
Right.
what does this mean?
Yeah. So, Erin, can you vividly remember yourself being on these ships and interacting with these aliens?
Sometimes. More than likely, it feels like a dream. And I wake up and think, oh, okay, so I had a dream that I was with aliens, and this is what happened. And it blends with dream experiences and reality. Like, I remember waking up in a strange room and I felt very bizarre, but I was comforted. And yet when I wake up, I've got marks, either bruises on my thighs, bruises on my arms, needle marks in my chest as I've had before, and think, oh, okay, that wasn't a dream. That was not a dream. That really happened. Is it because my brain is protecting me from the very strange experience of being on an alien ship?
Right.
It could be.
Yeah.
Is it them covering up my memories so that I stay calm on ship? That could be as well. Who knows the reasons? But I have had experiences where I was fully awake and aware, and have interacted with them in my house. However, after a while, you do shut down. It's like the brain can't handle it anymore, and you just don't remember.
Right, right. Could you kind of walk us through one of these experiences, the best you can?
Sure. The most vivid one that I remember happened on October 27th in 2018. I was asleep in bed. I was dreaming I was in a haunted house. I remember that dream very clearly. And I woke up to the covers being pulled off of me. I'm currently separated, but I was with my husband at the time, and the blankets were being pulled off, but they were being pulled off not in his direction, like he had rolled over and taken the blankets. They were being pulled off on the opposite side of the bed. So that startled me awake. Like, what was going on? And at the side of my bed were three beings. Oftentimes you hear of three beings, but they're usually the small grays that are there. One of them was a very short, maybe 3 to 4 feet tall, gray alien with the big eyes and the big head that people talk about. That was one of them. There was a being who was about a foot taller. His skin was a ruddy brown. And the best way to describe it is like he looked like a melting candle or a melting crayon. It's like his face was kind of drawn down,
Right.
and his lips, I don't know, tentacles or something. I don't know. My brain didn't really process it very well. But then there was what I would call a tall white being with them, whose head is more shaped like a football. It's rounder, not necessarily elongated in the back. He had big black eyes, and he was wearing a uniform, blue with black piping around the edge. I think it was black, piping around the edges. And he was familiar to me, and I said, "Oh, it's you." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, come on." And I reached out and grabbed his hand, and I walked with the group through, out of my bedroom, through the living room, and then through the wall out into my yard. At which time I ascended into a ship. I don't remember the ascension process, going up. I don't
Right.
remember that. But then the next moment that I am aware, I was in a room that was like a concert hall. It is enormous with tiers and balconies, and I was very high up, and I could see people all around me. They were all ages, all colors, all races. Some of them dressed for daytime, some of them in their pajamas like I was, and just so many people. And I remember looking across it from me, like at the balcony across the room. It had to have been a round room because that balcony didn't seem very far away, if that makes any sense. We must have been up at the pinnacle of the room. And it was a woman with bright red hair. I don't know who she was, but I was very excited to see her. And when she looked up, we're like, "Oh, hi." I knew her, at least on ship. I knew who she was. We felt comforted in each other's presence. "Oh, hi, I'm so glad to see you. This is great." And that's all I remember. I don't remember anymore after that. So that is probably the most vivid, most recent experience I've had.
So she may have been someone you've encountered on ships in the past, and then you've forgotten about it when you've left.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I would recognize her in person. If I saw her, I'd say, "Oh, it's you. I know who you are."
Yeah.
But would she recognize me? I don't know.
So when you say you saw people, how many people did you actually see? Are we talking hundreds?
Yes, hundreds of people. There were hundreds of people in that room.
That's staggering. It just your mind boggles at the thought of how prevalent this is.
Absolutely. I think that there are a lot more contactees than anybody ever imagined. I don't think very many have the understandings of what's happening. Some may be completely unaware. But then there's us few who do remember and actively work on retrieving those memories. And I think that's essential. I think it is important, especially right now, for those of us who have these experiences to have these memories, to come forward and say, "No, this is really happening. This is really happening. It is real. I am not joking around here. I'm not just some crazy off the street. I don't know what's coming, but it feels like now is the time for us to stand up and band together and say, "No, this is real."
What about the ETs themselves? how many different races do you think there are on these ships? I mean, they obviously can't all be the same species.
No, they don't seem to be all the same species. I have encountered, well, those three were all together, a very different species. I have encountered what I would call like a mantis type being. I know that those are talked about online and through forums and things. I have met, I think, several different types of beings that resemble the same thing. The short grays. I think there's
Yep.
many different types. There's many different beings who look very similar. I've had some of them are nice. Some of them are sweet and just overwhelm me with a feeling of love, and some are absolutely terrifying. And I've had, two different sets of experiences. I have these loving, beautiful experiences, and then I have the ones that, just scare the crap out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to bridge the information together.
Yeah. Is there one or two species that seem to be more dominant than the others, that seem to run the rule over everyone else?
I'm going to say yes to that. I don't necessarily know the truth of it, but in my experience, the tall white being that I have seen often and familiar with is often with me, whether that means that he's running things or if he's just in charge of me.
Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
know. But he is the one that tends to teach me things. He gives me lessons. I learn, different things while I'm on ship from him, whether it's understanding the chakra system in the body, how to raise my vibration, whatever it is that I need to learn at the time. And then the mantid type being was more of a doctor type. He was the one that was doing implant
Yeah.
surgery and things
Yeah.
like that. But as far as rankings outside of that, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
How do they communicate, telepathically or verbally?
Telepathically, it's all through my mind. I have heard clicks and things like, and I think that's through the fingers. I don't know where I get that information from, but it just seems that there's some clicks and sounds that are like if I hear that in my house, I know that, oh, well, they're here. It may sound silly, but the movie Signs, if you're aware of the movie
Oh,
Signs, where
yeah.
they
I've
were,
probably seen it a
yeah.
million times.
But that clicking sound is very familiar to me, and when I was in the theater, I just nearly came unglued.
Right.
So
Yeah. Erin, I've always wondered, and I've asked this to several people, and I kind of get a similar response about the smells and the odors that you remember on the ship. Can you actually recall those?
not a lot. The smell that I most identify with is a very earthy dirt smell.
Hmm.
So very like I've taken a handful of soil and I'm smelling the soil. That is the smell that I recall the most.
Right.
Other than that, no, that's it. That's the only one.
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking at your book, and as I said, it's a must read. I want to talk about the trauma and the fear that people experience through an alien abduction. I mean, I've had a couple of cases recently with people contacting me, and I've actually published what they've told me, and their experiences have been pain related. What about yours? When you talk about fear, is it fear of pain, or is it fear of being traumatized?
I think for me, it's more of a fear of being traumatized, though I do remember many instances of pain, and the pain that is involved is excruciating when I have it. And those are associated with those more scary encounters that I have had. I have recall of a baby being taken from me, but it was extremely painful. Like this is like birth pains.
Hmm.
I felt everything, and it was just felt like it was ripping through, and and that was very terrifying for me. The pain, plus the fact that there was a human appearing being just looking over me. He looked very military. honestly, he was an older man with a gray buzz cut haircut, and he was in army greens, and he had on like a lab coat, and he had a clipboard, and he was looking through the room, and I wasn't the only woman there. There were many, many beds of women in the same position that I was. And I started yelling, "Hey, what are you doing? Can you get me out of here? This is not cool." And he didn't register me. He just like looked at me and looked away. I was nothing.
Yeah.
And that moment was so wrenching. Like, how can you let this happen to your own people, you know? And but the alien beings that were with me were keeping me calm and making me feel safe, which is a very strange thing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I like these aliens, this human I don't like.
Right.
I've also had, it almost feels like a cattle prod, if that makes sense. I know that it's a long silver or, you know, metallic object, and it has a ball on one end, and they will put it against my spine, and it just, electricity and the pain with that is really bad.
Yeah.
Often I'm able to stop that when it's happening. I can break out of whatever, you know, quote unquote spell they have me in, mesmerized or whatever, and reach back and make it stop. But
Yeah.
yeah, that hurts really bad.
Yeah. The human involvement is it's not uncommon. I mean, a lot of people talk about seeing a human or two, or maybe three or more involved in this process. So you've got to ask questions. And having said that, and because you've come out and now you're talking about your experiences, do you fear being or getting a visit from, say, Men in Black or similar type creatures?
I've thought about it. I've known that putting myself out there maybe put me at risk a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've thought about, and it's something that is in the back of my mind, but I can't let any sort of fears of being stopped stop me. You know, I have a lot more that I have to say, and in a way it's too late. I mean, they could stop me, but my story's already out.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah.
they try.
Yeah.
But
Do the ETs give you any type of download, like of information?
yes, oh yes, I have learned so much about quantum physics. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm an expert at quantum physics because I'm not, but I understand, like the Einstein-Rosen bridge. I know how to use it and manipulate it. I am able to cross dimensions as I need to gain information, to visit them, to do all of these things. And I have a lot of information about ancient civilizations that, you know, why do I know all this stuff? Is it true?
Hmm.
I don't know, but it's all in my head. I have an incredible amount of information about different lives that I have lived. You know, if you think about past lives, and oftentimes those lives have ET involvement, and I just am able to access that easily. I feel, and this may sound strange, but I feel like there's a constant level of information available to me from the ETs, from, you know, I don't even know. But if I have a question, all I have to do is reach up and pull down the answer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there for me to access.
What about physical abilities, intuitive abilities as well? I mean, have you had any of those enhanced?
I believe so. One of the chapters in my book goes over those abilities, and the question is, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is it because I have these abilities that I attracted ET contact, but you know that's kind of negated since it goes through my family, or is it because of the ET contact that my abilities are enhanced? I oftentimes have I have dreams in the future. I have, you know, like deja vu moments all the time because I've dreamed it before. Oh, I know something major is happening if I start having many moments of deja vu. Like, okay, I'm being prepared for something. I can read the energy. I can feel if a spirit or an ET or any higher vibrational being walks into my area because I can feel them. I can on occasion hear people's thoughts. I am able to communicate with people who are deceased. I help cross spirits that are stuck, you know, like unhaunting houses. That's something I do on a regular basis. I can help other people learn about their past lives because I have that clairvoyance to see everything that I need to see in them. I think of it like a shamanic type of ability set that I have. I'm able to walk the different worlds and help manipulate energy in a person's body. And I've been pursuing that as work for many years. Not very lucrative, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
there, and I do
yeah.
it. So.
Erin, did you get a sense of an agenda that the ETs have here? Do you know what the ultimate goal is?
I wish I did. I wish I knew what the ultimate goal was. And with so many different beings that are involved, who's to say that they all have the same agenda? I don't know. But what I do know is the information that they push on contactees in a whole. Take care of the environment, love each other, working for harmony and peace on your planet. You know, all of these things are beautiful, beautiful messages. Take care of the world you're on, love each other, work in accordance with each other. And if they have that kind of message, how bad can their agenda be? I mean, it could be bad, and they may just want to have the planet whole and safe for when they take over. I don't know. But in the meantime, it's a beautiful thing for us to do. We ought to be taking care of our planet. We ought to clean up the rivers and the oceans and all of this. We need to work on energy efficiency. All of these things, those are important, and we should be taking care of the planet. So
yeah, yeah. Just out of curiosity, I've done some stories on blood types. What blood type are you?
I am O negative.
Oh, so Rh negative.
I believe so. I think I'm O negative. I'm O for sure. Negative positive, I'm not sure, but I believe it's negative.
Negative. Might be worth getting in touch with Melissa Kennedy, the UFO woman, who we've done a couple of stories, and there's a lot of people out there that responded to them, and there tends to be a bit of a correlation between Rh negatives and alien interaction. So that might be worth following up for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Um,
Kennedy.
so, Erin, when did you decide to embrace your contact experiences?
I think I began to embrace it and purposely work through things at the time I went to my first UFO festival here in Roswell, because I live in Roswell, New Mexico. It's hard to avoid all the all the aliens here because I'm just surrounded by them all the time. There's little green men on every corner, on every window, all the way through town. The first time I went to a UFO festival, and I purposely went to the lectures, and this would have been about 2012, so 8 years ago. I met Erin Smith at that point in time. I have cultivated a friendship with her, have been regressed a couple of times, and as I work through the trauma and I'm able to recall more and more on my own, and it's less scary, and I can feel the love around a lot of the experiences, the more I am able to embrace this as this is who I am. And it was about 2 years ago that I started to write the process out. And my book isn't just this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. It's more like this is how I thought of things, and this is the process how I got to being okay with what is happening to me. And so through that, it took about 2 years for me to put down on paper how I went from not being able to sleep at night, being afraid that somebody was coming, lights on, just with my back up against the wall so that there's no window or anything, which is silly because if they can walk through walls, I mean, come on. But that's what the traumatized brain will do to you. But once I was able to sleep and get through this, it was important. It was important for me to say, hey, you're not the only one out there. Other people need to know that it's going to be okay. Other people need to know that trauma is not the end of contact. Trauma is just the beginning. Once you can work through it, then you're able to communicate more openly with the ETs, understand what it is that they want, and work with them openly, and create this very interesting and beautiful life.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Have other contactees who have been quiet and dealing with this on their own, have they responded to you?
Yes, I've had several people since the book was released only a couple of weeks ago. I've had several people reach out and tell me their stories, even people that I work with. And it's a beautiful thing. You know, this is great. And if you have any questions, just keep asking. You know, let's make this an open conversation. Let's work through these things.
Yeah. I imagine there would be a lot of people out there that think they may have had experiences, but are not quite certain, and maybe getting them confused with a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recommend regression therapy to people?
I do, and I am actually pursuing that myself. As you know, I have my master's in marriage and family therapy, but I've also done pretty extensive training in hypnosis. And I'm waiting for Yvonne to do a specific training on age regression for contactees. I don't really want to go there yet until I have the training, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
And I think that it is good, and it can bring things to life. And maybe it was just a dream, but that can also set you at ease. But also understanding that a lot of my experiences feel like dreams.
Yeah.
It's important to explore those things.
Yeah. I read where you mentioned your desire to spread your story and help others, but you also said you wanted to normalize your contact experiences. Can you really normalize something like this?
With the number of people that were in that room of that conference hall that I was in on ship back in 2018, yes, I think it needs to be normalized. It may seem radical and just crazy at this moment, but it's not just a few people that are being taken. If hundreds of people are being taken to fill up an entire auditorium at a time on a ship, then yes, it is definitely something that needs to be normalized.
Yeah. Yeah. Kathleen Martin, speaking with her not too long ago, and I thought the numbers would have been in the thousands, and she said, we're talking millions. And of course, she heads the experiencer research team at MUFON, so she
right.
would know.
Yeah, and that gave me goosebumps when you said that. So that, to me, that rings truth. That's one of the things that my body does. When I hear truth, I get goosebumps. And so
yeah. I recently did an article about why aliens abduct people, and it got a lot of feedback. Some of it negative, most of it positive, but I just figured there's no definitive answer, because everyone seems to have a different experience, whether it be malevolent or benevolent, and people are being abducted by different races. And my theory is that each person's abduction experience is a personalized one, and one size doesn't fit all.
that would make complete sense to me. That would make complete sense to me, depending on where we are in our understanding of our contact, depending on how traumatized we have been, how far, have we worked through it at all. I think that absolutely it is very, very personalized. There are times when I have been approached by aliens at the foot of my bed, and they look like, this is funny, but they looked like the Golden Girls. And so the old Golden Girls TV show characters were standing at the foot of my bed, and I could just laugh like, oh, hi guys, wow. I know who you are. It's okay. And so I think that they're going to go into the mind of each person to use what they need to calm them down, or, to extract whatever it is that they need from that person. And so, yes, it's definitely going to be personalized. We're all going to have our each unique experience. And the times that I have been taken with more than one person, we all came out with something different. So, yes,
yeah. Did you coming out and talking about this affect your personal life much at all?
A lot less than I thought it was going to. I was scared. I thought I was going to be ostracized. I thought I was going to lose my job. I mean, there were so many different things. Working as a counselor in the mental health field, coming out with a crazy story,
Mm-hmm.
They could have just said, no, we don't want a
You should
crazy
be
count.
sitting on the other side of the desk.
Exactly. And no, I did not notice anything. And in fact, most people said, oh, I'm glad you talked about that, because I've had this experience and this has happened to me. And so one of the things I have noticed is the people that, this may sound awful, but the people that are not interested in like spiritual growth and things like that have fallen away from my life. And the people that resonated the same level with me, that are ready to grow and let's do this together, they have come to me. And so it's like with each passing day, I have more strength around me, more beautiful people that I'm in contact with, and it just feels like an ever-growing, beautiful family with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I was reading the preface of your book, and I loved what Erin Smith wrote. She said, "In my 29 years of working intimately with abductees and experiencers, I have known them to be the most honest and resilient people. For too long, they have remained in the shadows, both shameful and doubtful of their own experiences." So I agree. I mean, I've spoken with a lot of experiencers now, and honest and resilient are just perfect descriptions of these people. And but the other thing is that, and we're trying to get them to come out and and share their experiences, not necessarily with the world, but don't be shamed and don't doubt your own experiences.
Yeah, and that's a big one. And I think that was one of the, and it was through her coaching and through talking to her, often during the UFO festivals here, because she will do what is called an experiencer session, where people who have had experiences get together and it's like a support group moment. And I always make sure to talk about that, talk about my experiences and things in there, just because I know that it's important for people to know that you're not alone.
Yeah,
And there's just been a huge surge of that lately. We have to talk. We have to be out there, and we have to be strong for the others who are not as feeling as confident.
yeah. My bit of advice for somebody who may be watching this and thinking about, talking about their experiences, the last thing you want to do is go to the online forums and join up and try and interact there, because I mean, I'm not long into this topic, having come from a professional background. But the one thing I've noticed with the forum, and I'm just amazed that these forums, and there are people in ufology groups that are poking fun at other people who have had UFO
Mhm.
experiences, and I'm thinking, what the heck? Why are they cannibalizing their own? I mean, we're all fighting for the same cause here.
Mhm.
So I would definitely suggest, stay away from the forums meantime until you've actually spoken to someone.
Right. Seek out an individual that you trust,
Hmm.
whether it's, by all means, contact me. Look for Erin Smith. Kathleen Martin is a good one. There are several different contact support groups that are available online. There's, through Facebook, there's things like Experiencers Meet. There's Chosen ET Contact. There's CERO, which is Yvonne's support group that she started many, many years ago in California, that has gone international. There are so many different places you can go for support,
Yeah,
and talk to people that actually want to support you instead of getting laughed at, for sure.
yeah. So, Erin, what's in the plans for you now? Do you get to speak at seminars?
That would be great. I don't know yet. Like I said earlier, my book has only been out for like 2.5 weeks. And this year with COVID-19 and everything shutting down, I don't know. Maybe it'll be a good time for things to cook and boil down, and I can set stuff up for next year. I certainly would like to. I would love to be able to travel and go and share my story as far and wide as I can. In the meantime, I'm working on other projects. I'm nearly finished with a book on, it's more spiritual exercises, but I'm also starting a book on how ET contact affects relationships, because it definitely does.
Right.
Yeah, and so those are my next two book projects. In the meantime, I've got all sorts of radio shows set up. Granted, I don't have the information on me right now. It is all coming at me so fast that it's been hard to process.
Yeah.
But yeah, exciting stuff coming.
Well, the book is called Dirty Little Secret, Confessions of an Alien Contactee. It's available on Amazon, elsewhere.
Yep, just Amazon.
Amazon. So, and it's available in Kindle format and paperback.
Yes, actually, I will be doing the audio version. The audiobook version will be recorded at the end of July.
Okay. Erin, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll follow with interest your progress.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed being with you.
And stay in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Erin Montgomery joining us today.